Yes, yes, y'all. Welcome back to the live stream. Good afternoon. It is currently 2:39 p.m. and today's date is the 7th of December 2024. How are you doing? The year is coming to an end. Actually, is is almost ending. Okay, you probably have what? 23 days. 23 days. And yeah, we are back. Okay, with that being said, it is Saturday, so it's gonna be Saturday vibes. Saturday vibes. We're gonna check what's going on around the nation. How's your day going? Are you having a good weekend? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat, guys. What is going on? All right. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Where are we? Let me see. 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 All right, cool. Now we're gonna start with the TikTok conversation. Okay, we're gonna start with the TikTok conversation. I don't know if you guys have heard about the updates on TikTok. Now, according to the word on the street, well, probably not on the street, but the word on Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C., it is TikTok is one step closer to being banned in the US. Why? Because they're saying that TikTok is funneling, they're using and taking information from United States citizens, and probably, that's not a good thing for national security. So that's why it is up for sale. According to the updates, if somebody in the United States, from the United States, buys it for by next year, January 19th, I, g- I think I'm right. By next year, January 19th, then it wouldn't be banned from the United States. And as you know, there's TikTok USA, there's TikTok China, like every country has their own TikTok. So you see different feeds and all that stuff. And everybody has their own would you say privacy settings? So according to the government, they're saying that TikTok US will be banned if a United States citizen doesn't buy it by January 19th. Because currently the owner is a Singapore guy. And yeah, that's what's going on concerning TikTok. Let's hear what CNN has to say concerning that.
Is actually a technical one. Does he? It's actually not a day one thing for him. It's a day minus one. It's a January 19th, one day before the inauguration. Can he do something here?
Really hard for him, especially with this potentially not going higher up to the Supreme Court. The legislation was very carefully written to be a forced divestment, meaning TikTok, the parent company, has a choice. They can sell it to a U.S. owner, which is similar to the other platforms that exist, social media platforms, or they lose access to, Apple Store and all the others. The idea being that the Chinese Communist Party, which has people directly on the board of the parent company, should not have direct access to our location data, our other, our phone numbers, our, geolocation, all of that data that TikTok, first and foremost, compared to the other companies, they were first to the, short form video. There's a lot of American data there that they have not proven an ability to keep their hands off of.
Brian, when the legislation was moving, the blowback was super intense. It actually worked against them on some level, if I recall correctly. I mean, we've seen some of it today, fierce anger, deep, deep dedication to this app and what
Yes.
it produces.
At the same time, Meta's stock rose today. That's the owner of Facebook, right? Because all the other social networks will benefit if TikTok's actually banned. It seems to me, though, this is one of those cases of fighting the last proverbial war, 3, 4, 5 years behind. Chinese-owned firms will find other ways to go viral, find other ways to make apps that are super successful in the U.S. And meanwhile, every day or every week or every month, TikTok is still around in the U.S., Americans just get more and more addicted to it, not just to TikTok, but to the form that that format of vertical video, right to your face. That's going to be with us regardless of TikTok.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk bought Vine back. If we remember
Oh,
that.
what a great
That's
throwback
it was-
reference.
Yeah, we love the
Vine.
Vines.
Wow.
We did it for the Vine. But no, look, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Chinese Communist Party not only has access to that data or can have access, but not only that, the algorithm and what it feeds us. Look, I love the Costco guys as much as anybody. They get a big boom. But the problem is that it changes the chemical makeup of our brain when we see certain things. And there are
that's true.
studies
It's
that
true.
people are getting fed information. And it's impossible to track exactly who's making these calls at TikTok.
And
The
that's my
American
point.
government needs to put their foot
That's my
down and
point.
enforce
If
it.
it's not
And the-
TikTok,
the
it'll be
pro-
something
And the
else.
problem is not that it's foreign ownership in charge of this very aggressive, very seductive algorithm. The fact is that it's there. It's not age-gated. It's aimed at our kids. They're sucking up all kinds of data. And whether you're doing it for a corporate purpose or for a nefarious foreign political purpose, in some ways doesn't matter. Who owns it, I think, is very important. But what they do with it and whether or not they're going to try and get some control over it, there's no legislation to control any of this, regardless of who owns
Well,
the
so then
platform.
part of, right, this is a broader tech challenge of data privacy and what kind of regulation. We're not expecting this to be a pro-regulation administration. That's part of why this legislation was dated to be in effect the day before the inauguration. But the other challenge we see is that the Chinese Communist Party had access to Grindr and had used their data to, bully journalists about their own personal habits. So there's evidence there. And in 2018, they sold it to an American company. There's plenty of American buyers lining up. If TikTok is going to survive in America, which it can, it's a very easy choice for ByteDance to just divest, make a ton of money that way, and share the algorithm with an American owner.
I am optimistic that people like the incoming Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the team Trump's putting around him are going to continue to put the pressure on China. Because you're right, there will be other stuff. But we need a blanket rule in this country that we need to go after these Chinese companies that are influencing
One thing I
our-
will tell
our
you,
people.
the campaign and President Trump went on TikTok. The
Yep.
campaign was on TikTok. Right. And before that happened, there was the requirement by the president that we have proof that all the things TikTok said they would do as far as those servers not being able to be accessed, all these things happened. And there were many, many meetings where that did have to be proven to people much smarter than I am technologically within the campaign. And he wouldn't done it. But I think Brian made the most important point. You can get rid of TikTok. It's going to be called something else, and somebody else is going to. The platform concept is not going to go away.
And regardless of the owner, what are these apps doing to our brains?
exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry to give everybody nightmares.
No,
We don't
no,
wanna
it's-
sleep tonight,
for-
but
for the
we
parents,
all
it's
should
But I
think
will
all
say
about
everybody's
this,
it.
thinking
there are
about it, yeah.
170 million American users on TikTok, right? About 40% of those users get their news just on TikTok. That's several million people. There is no universe in the 1980s in which we would have allowed the Soviet Union to own the equivalent access of a broadcasting network to deliver news to people. Now, the legislation, again, was not written anything dealing with content or First Amendment right, but that's a national security concern.
What do you guys think about TikTok being banned in the United States? Well, it's been going on, lingering around for like a year or two. Matter of fact, for like 4 years. However, the only caveat to it is a United States citizen has to buy it. And there are a lot of people on the line ready to buy, but this has to come from TikTok. This has to come from TikTok founders and CEOs and executives if they're going to sell their algorithm to a United States personnel. But we're going to see what's going to happen. I personally think, TikTok shouldn't be banned, which I'm thinking is not going to be banned because, of course, the legendary OG is going to be here by January 20, and they're saying by January 19th is the last day for United States citizens to buy TikTok. Well, at least the algorithm. So If that doesn't happen by January 19th, I know for a fact that by January 20, Trump is going to say, you know what? We have to bring TikTok back. But he also understands national security. He knows that these people have so much information about you. Like, I think TikTok, if you're trying to open a TikTok shop, you're gonna have to put your social security number and like a app social media app that's not from the United States getting your social security, that may be, you know, national. I mean, this is gonna be, this may be bad. Okay, it may be bad. National security wise, it may be bad because they're gonna get your information. They're not from the United States. So who is, and these guys, they may be selling your information. Who knows? Okay, nobody knows. But if they are selling your information and they're not from the United States, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. All right, on to the next one. Of course, the 47th president elect is in France today at the Notre Dame opening, since it was damaged and now it's back. Uh, I think Fox is currently streaming it right now, but we're not gonna stream it. We're just gonna talk about what's going on right here.
One of the lessons I think we've come to understand, I hope that everyone has come to understand, is the power of projection.
Yes.
Accuse your opponent of the sins which you're committing. Former President Obama gave us another example of projection Thursday night in Chicago. He gave a speech where he talked about the weaponization of government and the polarization of your opponent, the polarization of America. Let's listen to the words of former President Obama.
Since total victory is impossible and the country politically split down the middle, the result is a doom loop of government gridlock, even greater polarization. When I mentioned to a few friends that our foundation would be hosting a forum on democracy and pluralism, I got more than a few groans and eye rolls, especially since, as far as they were concerned, the election proved that democracy is pretty far down on people's priority list. There are going to be times, potentially, when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing.
Man, what is this guy talking about? Look, he's at this point. The fact is, he's washed up. Okay, he's washed up. He was the 44th president of the United States. You had your turn, you had your chance. All you had to do was work for your people. Now you are old news. Okay, go back to your family, take care of your family. Okay, you are a successful man. So there's no racial political conversation, no identity politics is going to help you. And that's something that I know for a fact that Obama does. He likes to talk about racial politics back in the this, back in the that, back in the this. What about the future? Okay. Nobody wants to talk about the future. But he campaigned for Kamala Harris, and not just him. Michelle campaigned for Kamala Harris, as well as Beyonce, as well as Taylor Swift, as well as Samuel L. Jackson, as well as Megan Thee Stallion, Lizzo, all Tyler Perry. Okay, so this every Hollywood elite campaigned for Kamala Harris, and she lost. She lost, landslide losing. You know why? Because nobody cares anymore, okay? Nobody cares about all of those elites because those elites don't know how much the gas prices cost. They don't know how much a gallon of milk cost. You think Obama goddamn knows how much the gallon of milk costs? He doesn't know. Same thing with Lizzo. Same thing with Megan Thee Stallion. Same thing with Samuel L. Jackson. Same thing with Taylor Swift. because they are busy doing their duties. They are working, they're creators, okay? They are creating content, making music. They don't care about all of this stuff. And also, Oprah, like you heard, Oprah got paid. I think they said Beyonce got paid what, $10 million? About $10 million. It may not be the right number, but what I'm hearing is they says she got paid $10 million to campaign for Kamala Harris. And Oprah got paid, well, Oprah production company got paid because Oprah says she doesn't want it, but the production company who is gonna do the whole production set for the interview that we all watched here because we streamed back probably like 2 months ago, right? They all got paid. Everybody got paid. Remember when Usher was out there campaigning for Kamala Harris? And they still lost. This is it's like, how would you have everybody like that, big stars, campaigning for you, but they're not even doing it based off of love. They're doing it because they're trying to get paid. And then you lost by a landslide. And this is the first time in a long time a Republican will win the majority vote. So with every star, you remember when CNN was saying Taylor Swift has billions of followers? There's no way. And Taylor Swift had never endorsed anybody. She didn't even endorse Hillary Clinton. Okay. So she didn't endorse Hillary Clinton, but she endorsed Kamala immediately after the debate because she said, well, there we have it. When as soon as Trump said they're eating the dogs and the cat, and she was like, well, this is what if the future is a woman and all that BS. Okay. So they lost, big time losing. Now Obama is here crying. Crying because there's no power left. Okay. He's a successful man, no doubt. He needs to keep his success and hold on to it. But he's become the old generational Democratic Party. He's not the new breed of the Democratic Party. Anybody who wants to make um, progress in the Democratic Party, you would have to come out as a neutral person. Forget about racial politics, identity politics, anything that makes you talk about, well, they're black, well, they're white. Nobody cares, okay? Everybody's tired of your racial politics. Just because you're black, you're a victim. Just because you're white, you have the higher power or you have the upper hand. All of those things is over. It's like everybody's tired. It's washed up. It's like washed up conversation. Okay. How can a 44th president who is an African American, well, is an American, is not an African American because I am the definition of African American because I am truly from Africa. I was born in Africa. Okay. So he's an American, but happens to be a brown skin. So, yeah. Okay. A brown skinned man who happened to be the 44th president of the United States, still performing um racial politics, identity politics. You have gotten to the top of the ladder. You have gotten to the pinnacle where it's like there's nowhere else to go. You've gotten the highest office in the land. And then you still have the effort to complain about racial politics. Man, that ain't gonna work. That's not going to work. Shout out to Twins Mom 77. She says, I grew so much with the truth. Shout out to you. Of course, dazed. Of course, dazed and confused. That's why your name is confused, bro. Dazed and confused. Eddie say you must be house slave. That's what you say. Most people like this is what they say. They say you're brown skin. Why would you vote for Trump? I voted for Trump, and I wish look. He cannot run again, okay, because he's done his 2 terms. But whoever is gonna come in has to have the ideologies of the OG, the Don, the 45th, and now the 47th president elect. Okay. You can keep all that conversation to yourself. You can claim what you want to claim. What have they ever done for you? What have they ever done for you, Brody? dazed and confused. Tell me what they've ever done for you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're just loyal to your downfall. That's what it is. Okay? That's why I say if you don't pay bills, don't watch the live show. I'm not here to cater to your feelings, okay? Go back to your mother's basement. I'm not here to cater to your feelings, all right? If you don't pay bills, don't be streaming my live shows, okay? Only adults, responsible adults who pay bills need to be watching this stream. And you don't even have to be watching this stream, but you can come give me a kiss though.
The armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents.
That, my friends, is projection.
That is amazing, actually. So it's intentional. I mean, this isn't just some tick or something that just popped into his head because he's bummed out that they lost the election so bad. I mean, people need to understand Barack Obama has been a really negative force on this country and on politics and creating so much division. That comes from Saul Alinsky. People forget.
Creating division. That's the word. You're always trying to create division. You know what I mean? You're trying to create division. Like, what has that done for you in your household? You've been having the mentality of a loser all your life because that's the mentality you were brought up with. Okay? Victimized mindset. Okay? If I'm going to fail in this world, I want to fail on my own terms. I cannot fail based on somebody else's ideologies of life. Look, this is why I always talk about prefrontal cortex, okay? Your prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until you turn 25, 26, 27. So whatever decision you made, of course, everybody knows what prefrontal cortex is. That's the part of your brain that is used for reasoning, rationality. So if you've made any decision before 25, 26, 27, obviously it's probably going to be the wrong decision because your prefrontal cortex is not matured yet. But now that you're an adult, put the childish things to the side. Okay? You're an adult now. You're 30 years old. You're 35 years old. You shouldn't be talking about, well, this guy's a house, Uncle Ruckus, Uncle that, Uncle Tom. Like, what are you saying? You now have kids. You now pay bills. You now see how the economy works. You now see how the commercial market is. You saw what the mortgage rate was in 2019, 2020. You saw what the gas prices were. You saw what the inflation rate was. So why are you still supporting racial politics? You saw what the border was like. You saw there was nothing like Ukraine or Russia. You saw you didn't have to send billions of munitions to Russia, or to Ukraine rather. You saw there was no Israel, the Palestinian people, the Iranian people, and yet you're still talking about racial politics, identity politics. All your favorite stars and celebrities are all bought and paid for. They were bought and paid for by Kamala Harris when she was campaigning, and yet they lost. Why? Because the Democratic Party do not listen. Y'all don't want to listen. You call the people that vote for Trump, you call them uneducated people. That's what they call them. They said they're mostly uneducated people. The people who vote for Trump are mostly uneducated people. Okay. So you're trying to say only the elites and well-educated people vote for the Democratic Party. So tell me what Elon Musk is. Well, I guess he's not the most wealthiest human being to ever walk the earth, right? And is now a Republican. He's the richest man alive, and he voted for Trump. He campaigned for Trump. The United States needs this guy. Okay, this guy he's trying to help NASA. All right, he's trying to help NASA bring in the um astronaut home. They need Elon, and yet they're gonna say the people voting for Trump are uneducated people. How does that even work? But I'll let you judge that. I'll let you be the judge of that, okay? So the farmers, the truck drivers, the welders, the HVAC workers, the plumbers, the construction workers that voted for the OG, the 45th, now the 47th president elect, those guys are uneducated. The people that actually make the economy work, y'all need to chill.
Barack Obama was teaching rules for radicals. He was teaching about Saul Alinsky at the University of Chicago. That is a hero to him. And one of his rules, among many, that was meant to basically dismantle society and bring about this, liberal utopia. One of them was how to attack your enemy. And Saul Alinsky, took his lessons from Lucifer, actually. Like, he talked about that being somebody who could teach them how to take power and control. And here's Barack Obama, Charlie, I think, really kind of going.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. Shout out to Kurt. His royal fatness. You're too funny. Kurt, his royal fatness. Thank you for the donation. God bless you.
He's in a bad spot. He created this. He thought it was going to become this permanent power base for him. And now he's accusing the right of what he did because he's just super bummed out right now.
Yeah, and it is total projection. It's also desperation. That's the thing that is so striking to me about that entire, all those remarks that he made, that entire speech or whatever it was the depth of he's very bitter. That's not the Barack Obama who gave that speech in 2004. Even if you didn't agree with him and didn't like him and didn't agree with his policy prescriptions, it's a different guy than he was when he gave that speech in 2004 or when he won that election in 2008. He is a deeply bitter, angry guy, and he's talking about how voters don't care about democracy.
Hope and change has turned into dour and bitter.
Yeah. Bitter and
really
projectionism.
And I would say, and while he's projecting, he's not just projecting that which we all know at this point, which is the Department of Justice was weaponized under Joe Biden. There was a consolidation of permanent Washington under Joe Biden. What we should also point out is it all began under Barack Obama.
Yes. Yep.
That is when, for example, he spied on a Fox News reporter. That is when Lois Lerner targeted conservatives with the IRS. That is when much of this began and was just extrapolated under the presidency of Joe Biden.
Yeah, and then they also under Barack Obama and then metastasized under Joe Biden, which many people believe that administration was being run out of Obama's mansion in Colorado, Washington, D.C. But that said, I mean, the censorship industrial complex that was used to also consolidate that power is something else. And that's one of the things that people were really voting against, along with the weaponization of the government, this idea that it could be used to censor us and therefore allow them to consolidate power. Barack Obama is very isolated right now. Even his best friend, George Clooney, who wrote the op-ed that ended up pushing out Joe Biden, is now upset at Barack Obama, going, hey, you told me to write that op-ed. Now everyone's blaming me online. Where are you, Barack Obama? Barack Obama's becoming, he's not used to not being glorified. And this is an interesting moment for him.
Yeah, and meanwhile, across the aisle, you have Donald Trump, who has taken over the mantle of sort of occupying the broad center of American public opinion on things like illegal immigration, to the point where you even have New York City's mayor, Eric Adams, who has previously supported sanctuary cities, so he can't be let off the hook entirely. But he's open to the idea that Donald Trump and Republicans might very well have some solutions to solve the grave problems in the city. Watch this.
Would you ever consider rejoining the GOP?
The party that's the most important for me is the American Party. I'm a part of the American Party. I love this country. This is the home of the free, the land of the brave.
So Eric Adams there, who has taken the side, to your point, Charlie, of Donald Trump, or at least tilted in the direction of Donald Trump when it comes to illegal immigration. They're even leaving the door open to a return to the Republican Party.
Yeah, now that the bills are coming due, he's like, wait a minute, maybe this wasn't such a great idea.
But also, don't forget, Mayor Eric Adams was the subject, I think, of the weaponization that we were just talking about. You said he was for sanctuary cities. He saw the effects on his city. He was listening to the feedback coming from the Bronx and Queens.
And most people, most citizens of New York as well as citizens of Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. They're saying that the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, is just now trying to connect with the people because now he's feeling the smoke. So it's like, okay, now that they've turned against you, you want to be the person fighting for the people, and you want to be about the people now. And this is what is going on in Chicago because we had a stream 2 days ago and they spoke about the people of Chicago had a hearing. They had a conversation with their mayor, I think Brian Johnson or something like that, and they completely shut him off because it was like, yo, you are bringing people into the country. They're taking our money. They're taking our resources, and you're saying you don't want to take them out of the country. You're saying you wouldn't let Tom Holman do his job. You know what I mean? So it's getting really spicy. And I don't know what's going to happen to Eric Adams. I just don't know what's going to happen to this guy. He has to convert to a Republican to save his soul. To save your soul, Eric, you go out to be a Republican.
And people saying this is horrible, our crime is up, we can't walk the streets, there's illegal businesses on the sidewalk, the place looks like crap. And so he started to respond to it and draw attention to what was happening at the border. And all of a sudden, he had a big investigation on him. And so Donald Trump famously at the Catholic event here in New York City just before the election, sort of reaching out and saying, hey, I know what that feels like. This government can be weaponized. And I think that's why he's losing his thrill with the Democrat Party. And again, it might just be, that he's just being politically savvy, reading the tea leaves. People are in no mood for Democrats and their radical.
Obviously, people are in no mood for the Democrats, and I'm predicting this right here. Most of my prediction always comes to pass, anyways. But in 2028 and 2032, the Democratic Party is most likely not going to get the White House. This is my prediction, okay? Because this guy prides himself in being a man of his words. By this guy, I mean the 47th president-elect. So if he happens to secure the border and the chaos in Russia and Ukraine, bring peace to the Iranian people. Well, I don't know about the Iranian people, but to Israel, to Israel and to the Palestinian people, I don't see why the Democrat would win in 2028. Especially if the economy bounces back. If the economy bounces back, well, it's already bouncing back because now we see what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin was never, ever close to getting to $100,000 per coin. Now it's over $100,000. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just over. It's over. You would have to start a new ideology for the Democratic Party. Back in the day, the Democratic Party used to be a party for the people. Now, the Republican Party have taken that mantle. They've taken that mantle from them. Now, the Democratic Party is known as the party of the elites because they had all the elites in their campaign events, roundtable conversation, rallies. Okay, the biggest star at Trump's campaign was Trump. There was no bigger star than Trump. So you see what I mean? Like, because if you really look at it, even Lizzo was popular than Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? While she was campaigning, Beyonce is obviously bigger than Kamala Harris, like when it comes to name. You know what I mean? So Eminem. Oh Lord. Eminem was there with Kamala. Man, that's it. Eminem, yeah. Eminem, bro. Come on, bro. You knew better. You knew better, Eminem. Eminem knew better. I don't know what he was doing.
Pat Fallon, he's made a lot of news this week, but he's also had an opportunity before he got into the whole Secret Service thing, which you might have heard a thing or two about. He is one of the lawmakers who met with these Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to have a key part in, they hope, trimming trillions of dollars worth of government spending. Congressman, always good
to have you. What are your thoughts on these two? Pretty rich guys. They're not cabinet level positions, but they will have enormous sway on this issue of government spending. What do you think?
Well, Neil, first of all, my high school history teachers taught us the difference between authority and power. So they may not have a lot of authority, but I think they're going to have a lot of power. And these are genius level guys. I was very impressed. I had never met either of them before, and they have very good ideas. They can talk a lot of different subject matter and really know what they're discussing. And they're open to, and they want to partner with members of Congress. I mean, you have two. Well, it's unfortunate too, by the way, Neil. I didn't see one Democrat attend that visit, and they were invited. But nonetheless, there were probably upwards of 200 Republican members there, and Elon and Vivek want to partner with us and use us as a resource. And I think that that bodes well for the country.
Do you think, and not to be too jaded about it, but maybe just all my years covering Washington and both parties in control, that this could be like a Trojan horse deal, though? How do you know these guys, very savvy businesses, particularly when it comes to extracting government concessions of themselves and working the government the way they have? Elon Musk is brilliant at it. That they're not going to be looking to do some of this in ways that could benefit their businesses. How do you police something like that, Congressman?
Well, I think that would be obvious as far as motives go. I do think they have very noble motives. I think they're both patriots. And when you reach their levels of success, Neil, I mean, they owe the country so much. And I really do believe that they're doing it for the right reasons. And that's what, that's why we have Congress. That's why we have a free press as well. We will, every action will be scrutinized. But I'm hopeful. I mean,
Right.
Obviously I'm cautiously optimistic because, as you know, DC's like a big giant ship, and Congress and even the president have a small rudder to affect change. But President Trump has got a mandate right now, and it's up to, we have the ball. We're on the 5-yard line. The wind's to our back. We got to cross the goal line.
I see what you did there. So, Congressman, let me ask you, you talk about a big ship and how difficult it is to turn, and a lot of your Democratic colleagues are saying, well, the ship has hit the fan right now. See what I did there, Congressman? They think the House is, controls the purse strings, and these guys get the ball rolling looking at the purse. You know what I mean?
Just think about it. The GOP party has the House, they have the Senate, and they have the White House. So legislature, judiciary, executive is all theirs. Good Lord.
They're worried that it's taking away responsibilities that should be yours.
No, I think it's definitely going to be a partnership. That's the tone that was set in the meeting. And a lot of Republican members, Neil, I think it would surprise some folks, got up to the microphones and asked them to hold us to account, hold us to account in our districts, because it is time. The American people, we've all gotten addicted to, getting a dollar's worth of services and paying 70 or 75 cents for it. And we've got to wean ourselves off of that, because the greatest existential threat to our country, as you know, is our deficit and our debt.
Now, I guess I always worry, it reminds me of that old Twilight Zone episode, you're such a young guy, and it's like a cookbook. All of a sudden, there are all these things. Wait a minute. But I did want to draw your attention to Donald Trump. Now, he's arrived in Paris, of course. There's this big event. I'd never seen, Congressman, a president-elect who moves so quickly to get the attention that he does. Emmanuel Macron is there, I should say, but Donald Trump is not. I misspoke. And Emmanuel Macron made a clear effort to get him to come. Donald Trump did. A number of other leaders have done the same thing to sort of get a chance to meet him, talk to him before he even assumes office. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Now, Neil, some of my very good friends are going to be working with the president very closely, either in the cabinet or as ambassadors or as national security advisors, like Tim Waltz, or I'm sorry, Mike Waltz.
Right.
And, what they tell me is he is a dedicated, laser-focused workaholic. This guy's putting in 16, 18 hours a day. And Mike Waltz, my good friend, is going to be his national security advisor.
Okay, guys, we're gonna have to come back to this video. We stopped at 4:31. I want to play something about 8 minutes from now, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I gotta go handle one business right now. but I'll be right back. Just give me like 5-6 minutes.
Welcome
I'll be
back.
right
China is banning exports of rare minerals used in defense products to the United States. The Chinese Commerce Ministry blocking the export of gallium, germanium, antimony, and other materials with potential military applications. It comes after the U.S. issued new restrictions on exports of certain semiconductor chips to China. There are some fears U.S.-China trade relations could also impact the healthcare sector. U.S. imports of Chinese pharmaceuticals has surged since the COVID pandemic. Imports grew by 485% in just 2 years, according to the Atlantic Council. Joining me now is Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, a member of the House Judiciary and Republican Study Committees. She's also the commissioner of the U.S. Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And I know that you are making health care one of your main focuses in the new Congress. So that's why we wanted to start with health care with you, Congresswoman, because I'm pretty outraged by the fact that we still have supply chains that we are relying on China to send us the underlying components of our prescription drugs. Did I hear right? I mean, is that the facts? We're still relying on communist China, our number one adversary, to send us the underlying components of our prescription drugs.
Well, you are very right, Marie. And unfortunately, we saw what happened during the COVID pandemic and how China manipulated our supply chain. And what we did nothing. President Biden, when we tried to pass some legislation to secure our supply chain as part of CHIPS Act, we passed it through the Senate, through the House, and then President Biden took it out, and Democrat did it for him. Unfortunately, we want to take it serious. And depending on one country where 80% of ingredients, even for simple antibiotics, are derived from China. Depending on one country, it's dangerous, but depending on communist country that actually is adversary and try to take our country down, this is really serious national security risk. And I'm looking forward for the Trump administration that will take it seriously, because they did. And
I mean, they've already threatened us. I remember in 2020, and I mention this tweet all the time, it was one of the propaganda sites of China. I believe it was Xinhua News or one of the I don't know which one it was, but they're all state-run media. Obviously, they're all propaganda. They put out a tweet in the middle of COVID in 2020 and said, well, maybe since the U.S. is blaming China for COVID, maybe we won't send them the underlying ingredients for prescription drugs. And then that tweet was quickly taken down. I actually took a picture of it. I couldn't believe I was stunned by it. And sure enough, they took it down. So how come it's been almost 5 years since COVID? How come we haven't done anything about it yet?
Because we have a very failed administration that appeased in China, and we also have Congress that really haven't taken its issue seriously. It's all about the money. We do a lot of messages fighting, China at Fox News channels, but it's all about legislation. It's all about where the money goes and having a serious legislation. And as you know, this institution hasn't been governing for the American people for a while. But I think this election sent a message. And if my party doesn't stand up and help President Trump to actually deliver legislation, because you cannot have, through managing and governing through executive orders, because it's all temporarily. We have to have serious legislation to address our national security risks and dependencies in China, because this is going to be very difficult for our economy and for our people. And also China has so much leverage over us, and it's very dangerous for us.
And I know you have a couple of pieces of legislation pending in terms of defunding the CCP. Tell us about that. What has the most propensity to actually get broad support? One of the issues we talk about so much on this program is the fact that there are sanctioned Chinese companies that trade on our U.S. exchanges. We already know that these Chinese companies that trade on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, they don't follow the same accounting rules that every other public company follows. So what about is it fair to say scores of millions of Americans are unwittingly helping to fund the fentanyl crisis by investing in those companies?
Of course. It's even worse, Maria. We also have our pension plan that invests in CCPs through index and mutual funds that Americans don't even realize, that we're actually financing CCP and their military operations through our pension plans and putting our country in danger. And when we try to delete these stocks, right now, Biden administration through PCAOB actually slow working the enforcement, that Congress passed several years ago. And we actually, as a CPA, who some used used to do quality control inspections, I was very surprised that only Chinese operations were exempted from that.
Unbelievable. Michael Balboni, jump in here because there's been absolutely zero response from Joe Biden on this. You've got Secretary of State Anthony Blinken meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Brussels yesterday, and we're going to get to the Ukraine story in a moment. But how many times has Blinken and Yellen and Biden gone to China to kiss the ring of Xi Jinping with no mention whatsoever of the COVID cover-up, of fentanyl, of all of this?
So what's so ironic about this move by China to try to limit the amount of chemicals we have for our pharmaceuticals in this country is they do nothing to stop the precursor chemicals for the development of fentanyl and meth in Mexico. That is a gray zone conflict.
Well, they work with the
for
drug
this
cartels.
country. They work with the drug cartels. And so they're saying, we're not going to give you the chemicals you need, but we're going to continue to let these chemicals go in the supply chain, which then winds up poisoning young Americans. But Congresswoman, the big question is, what are you going to do now with the Trump White House to really work on stopping this fentanyl crisis coming across the border?
Well, I hope we're going to have a courage and grow the backbone and actually dealing with this issue. Because if you think about it, China doesn't have to enter our country, but through drug cartels, they kill over 100,000 Americans a year. Think about that. If we would have a war and over 100,000 Americans, would die, and what would do? And it's a lot of young Americans, and it's really, it's a serious, situation for our country. So I think we have to secure our country. I'm an immigrant. I'm legal immigrant. We're a country of immigrants, but we are now creating a country of lawlessness, where drug controlling our southern border, enslaving the people. I mean, let's talk about the slave labor in China or some of these countries in Africa that they're using a lot of slave labor to produce rare earth minerals. No one talks and raises concerns about it. Or they bring in miners here to work on some Chinese-owned plants, even in our country. So this is a serious issue, and Congress better start dealing with that. But we have to make sure it's all about the money and the funding and start authorizing this funding. We have so many blank checks and unauthorized funding that haven't done for decades.
Well, Joe Biden is in Africa. Didn't he just leave and promise them another $1 billion there? He's sending more money to Ukraine. You've got people who are still struggling after Hurricane Helene and Milton in this country. Congressman, real quick on China, let me just end this with this. 78,000, now we're told, 78,000 Chinese nationals have come into America through the wide open border on Joe Biden's watch. What are they doing here? I mean, that they can't just pick up and say, I'm moving to America. I want to get out of here. Now, you can't do that in China. This is a communist country. You need approval. So are those people directed to come here or what? What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's really, a plan of China to destabilize our country. They infiltrate our universities. They send people to steal our intellectual property, and now they steal people go through illegally through the border. This is a very serious issue. And then they use cartels to kill Americans. This is a hybrid warfare that we see from a lot of countries like China or Russia, and we need to take it seriously. And Congress has to get their act together. So I'm looking forward to helping, next administration, because this administration failed the American people.
Do you think Trump will be able to help end the war in Ukraine?
Well, that war has to be end, but unfortunately, we deal with both failed president of Ukraine and our country, so it will need some, strengths and strategy that President Trump can bring to the table.
Okay, we'll be watching that. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. Thanks for your work, Victoria.
Here. So. This. Right. Use the microphone. Use the microphone. Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is? Yes, man. I had to handle some business, okay? Whew. Okay, with that being said, where were we? Where were we, guys? Where were we?
All right, let's bring in Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who joins us now on Fox & Friends. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you all.
So you heard the report. It seems like when it comes to the confirmation of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, there is a very positive momentum. Senator John Cornyn came out last night expressing his public support for Pete. And it seems like things are moving forward with Joni Ernst as well. How do you feel as we sit this morning about Pete Hegseth getting confirmed at DOD?
I'm optimistic about it. I think he's on the right track. I talked to a number of senators personally on the Hill just over the last couple of days, and it seems like the momentum moving the right way. Look, I like how he's approached it. We've all made mistakes in our lives, right? But we believe in redemption. And what Pete brings to the table is a love for the military, a great education background, a great experience set. I think he's well suited for the job, and he will shake up the status quo, which is why this pick is so important. That's what President Trump, that's the common denominator, people who will shake it up.
And I think that's precisely why he's getting the pushback that he has. I mean, let's face it, and by the way, I love what you said about redemption. We've talked about this journey that Pete has been on, and his mother talked about it here. Those of us who sat on the couch have also seen that. It's a sincere thing. He's a family man. He comes here on the weekends. We see him. We know him so well. We know who he is. Nobody who's made those reports has ever come to us and asked us about it. But it's so interesting, isn't it, Speaker Johnson, that the media and so many of the people who are clutching their pearls over Pete's past are the same people who want to put pornography in our school, who are responsible for basically the degeneration of our culture.
It's always a double standard with the other side, and he's a threat to them because he will shake up the status quo. I got here a little bit early this morning. I was in the makeup room, hair and makeup, right? These ladies, professionals, extraordinary staff you have here at Fox News, they're back there, and they were telling me how much they miss Pete.
Yeah.
We love him so much. He's so professional. He's so great. They showed me their social media posts where they're defending him. These are people who have been in work with him for, what, 8 years he's been at Fox?
Yeah.
They're his biggest fans. So talk to the people who actually know Pete, who've worked with him. I talked to him a few days ago. He was in good spirits, and I hope he gets this done. It'll be a good thing. My oldest son is a freshman at the Naval Academy. This is a live fire exercise for me. We got to fix the DOD, and he's the right guy to do it.
You know, nobody in Washington spends more of his time than you do recruiting people to run for public office. Yeah. And I would think that things like this, the treatment of Donald Trump, the treatment of Brett Kavanaugh, make your job a whole lot harder getting good people who are willing to expose themselves to
That's exactly right. If you want a higher caliber of folks serving in government and taking on government service, this is not a good look, because who wants to subject themselves from this? And then the constant barrage on social media and all the things that come with it. But patriots like Pete are the ones that we need. He's willing to take the fire to stand and serve his country.
Mr. Speaker, we've seen this process play out almost like dominoes falling. You saw it with Matt Gaetz. It moves to Pete Hegseth. There are talks now that Tulsi Gabbard will be on the Hill this week. Why should we have any expectation the same treatment won't now be moved to Tulsi Gabbard, and perhaps after Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Does the president not have a right to his confirmation selections? It certainly seems that when Democrats make their selections, Republicans go ahead and confirm the Democrats like Joe Biden's selections.
This is a really important tradition and principle that the president, a new president, gets to choose his or her team, and he has the right to choose the people that he wants to fulfill this mandate that he's been given by the American people. And so it's not right for them to go through and do what they're doing. This character assassination, I think, is over the top. And it does have a deterrent effect of better people getting involved in the system.
You bet it does. You bet it does. You talked about all the different cabinet members who are disruptors. This is what Donald Trump ran on, indicated. I mean, we kind of pretty much knew that if he won, he was going to put somebody like Robert Kennedy Jr. in. One of the other developments that's been fascinating has been this new agency, DOGE, that will be run by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk to look at all the government spending and cut it. And what's been interesting is I actually thought that was, even just for PR's sake, was kind of a bipartisan thing. But, like, the Democrats are actually going, we don't really like this agency. What is it? And they've been calling it a fake agency. And so I want you to listen to what Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, said about it. And I want to get your thoughts on the other side.
It's unclear to me what exactly the objective is related to this so-called DOGE initiative. From our perspective, We want a federal government that is effective and efficient and equitable. And to the extent the other side of the aisle shares that objective, which is what is right for the American people, then we'll see if there's common ground that's possible.
Speaker,
Oh, no, that's cap. That right there is cap because people voted for that. Okay, people voted for it, and the people demanded that they want some sort of efficiency. So now they have a Department of Government Efficiency. You're still complaining. Why are you complaining?
look up on the wall behind you there. There's some of the government spending, the wasteful government spending. You know, $7 billion. We have empty government buildings. This one, $3 million. Just think about that. $3 million on girl-centered climate action in Brazil. Why wouldn't they want to even just from a PR state, even if they didn't want to cut their programs, just say, yeah, we're not for that?
Yeah, exactly. Look, Doge is exciting. We had Elon and Vivek on the Hill, as you know, a couple days ago. And it was an amazing time. I brought together the Senate and House Republican leaders first, the chairs of the committees of jurisdiction, the people who do the budgeting and the sort of the infrastructure of government. We had a very productive discussion. Everybody was really excited about that. And then I brought them into the big congressional auditorium, and we had, I mean, almost all the House Republicans and many of the senators. And it was a great dialogue, brainstorming session. We're putting the groundwork in place to make real transformational change to government. We have to make government more efficient and effective. It needs to be more focused in what it does.
But are the Democrats as excited? I mean, that doesn't look like they're excited.
Well, that's Hakeem's talking points. But meanwhile, Democrats are joining the team. I mean, you heard several Senate Democrats and House Democrats, even on the day that they were on the Hill, Thursday, Friday, joining on. Hey, I want to be part of this. Great. We welcome them with open arms. This ought to be bipartisan. We all ought to aspire to have a government that is more responsive to the people. So we're really, really excited about the potential here. We believe we can cut it down.
Even Bernie Sanders
even Bernie
signaled that he was open to this.
Senator Fetterman and Jared Moskowitz in the House and more. Look, I'm going to talk to all my Democrat colleagues. If you really care about this, join us. We could do this together. That'd be a great thing for the country.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Good to be with you.
Man, shout out to Mike Johnson for sure. He's been an eloquent speaker all through his term, and I hope he does bigger things in the government. Anyway, so Bernie supports Doge. Fetterman, who I think he's kind of leaning to the center now. He used to be far left, now he's in the center, okay? And sometimes he may be leaning right. So Fetterman, y'all better watch out for Fetterman in 2028. He might want to jump out. Fetterman, Newsom, AOC, those, and maybe Josh Shapiro. Those are the four that I see in the Democratic Party that may want to do some, damage in 2028.
Despite instructing the jury that it couldn't consider the other lesser negligent homicide charge without a conviction on that more serious charge. So the criminally negligent homicide here, or manslaughter, explain how this ended up happening given what the judge had said earlier.
Yeah, hey, Laura, great to be with you. I mean, look, this is really good news, bad news for Daniel Penny, what this judge did. If you think about it, you've got some jurors. We don't know how many, Laura. It could just be one juror that was hung up. There might have been 11 jurors wanting to acquit Daniel Penny on the manslaughter charge, and maybe just one juror that wanted to convict him. But the fact that there was a hung jury on the more serious charge is not great news for Daniel Penny, because now the judge is saying on Monday, they want the jury to hear the lesser charge, right? The negligent homicides just being reckless, and that caused the death. If you've already got one or more jurors that are hung wanting to convict Penny on the more serious charge, then rest assured, when they deliberate on Monday, they're going to want to convict him on the reckless negligent homicide. So that's the bad news for Daniel Penny. The best he's likely to do is a hung jury. The good news is he's got some jurors in his camp that hung on the more serious charge. Those jurors are likely to stick with him on Monday. So we're likely to see a hung jury by Monday or Tuesday on the lesser charge.
Now, Jordan Neely's uncle spoke today at the end of the deliberations. Watch.
On behalf of the Neely family, I want to apologize to all the people that was truly afraid for their lives on that train. Jordan Neely didn't have to die that day. Daniel Penny could have went to another cop. Even he has the legal right to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I get it. I get it. Y'all gonna say, well, it shouldn't be threatening people's lives and all that stuff. I get it 1000%. However, Daniel Penny could have gone to another car, just like his uncle said. Okay. And I like the fact that he said he apologizes for whatever Jordan Neely did, for people who were truly scared for themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like, look, Daniel Penny could have just gone to another card, or he wanted to do the superhero thing. He could have just, released a little bit, because he wasn't the only person restraining Jordan Neely. It was two other guys restraining Jordan Neely's arm, and Daniel Penny was doing the chokehold thing. So it's like, I don't think he's a
Andrew,
hero.
I mean, that's emotional, but frankly, it's absurd.
It's absolutely absurd. Look,
It's not absurd. Okay. Look, I like you guys. I like you guys. But it's not absurd. Okay. This is somebody's life. All right. Somebody's life. Absurd? Hell no. He's not a hero. Daniel Penn is not a hero. Never been, well, he is a veteran, a Marine veteran. So thank you for your service. But in this case, he is not a hero.
something in the law called the assumption of risk. And when you act like an idiot, when you act like an imbecile, when you intimidate people, when you threaten people, you assume the risk that something is going to happen. Laura, this criminal justice system has completely failed this Marine. From Alvin Bragg bringing these charges in the first place, the lead prosecutor not agreeing to a plea deal with a slap on the wrist, and now this judge who shouldn't have dismissed these manslaughter charges. Rather, there should have been a mistrial in this case. And let's start this entire thing over again, because now I'm concerned that the defendant in this case is going to be convicted on Monday, and that's a miscarriage of justice. It's ridiculous.
I completely agree with you because, and again, let's remind the viewers what we're talking about here. So they dismissed the more serious charge, but now the lesser charge is criminally negligent homicide. Now, what does this involve? It involves causing someone's death by acting in a manner that was reckless, inattentive, or careless. In addition, if you've recklessly failed to act and as a result someone dies, you could also be found to have committed criminally negligent homicide. Brian, there almost seems to be a feeling you would intuit among some jurors that, okay, maybe we'll go with that one. That's not how the justice system is supposed to work here.
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. And that's what I meant earlier. It's like you've got some jurors that are saying, hey, look, they believe Penny consciously was in disregard of Neely's life, knew the risk, still did the chokehold, and therefore he should be found guilty of manslaughter. Do you think those jurors now are going to do a 360? No, like you said, they're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to get him on the lesser charge. But let me tell you one thing, Laura, where this judge messed up and where there's going to be there should have been a mistrial on this entire case, and Penny's lawyers are going to have a great appeal issue. The judge should have asked that jury why they hung, because there's a legal justification defense for Penny. That's a self-defense. And if this jury agreed that Penny was entitled to self-defense, then he's off on both charges. If that jury hung on...
Y'all need to chill with all this. Y'all need to chill with all this. This ain't, come on, man. He needs to pay a fine. Do I think he should go to prison? No. But I think he needs to pay a steep fine, like a large amount of fine. So next time he's gonna know how to de-escalate a situation with caution, okay? Because they're saying it's self-defense, like he was the only person on the train. Nope. Like he was the only person who restrained Jordan Neely. Nope. He wasn't the only person. There were two other guys restraining Jordan Neely's hands, and he the Marine, the veteran, was the person doing the chokehold thing. So it's like, it wasn't even, like I said yesterday, it wasn't even a fair fight. If it was like a normal fight, okay, it's 1 against 1. Now it's 3 against 1, 3 against 1, and y'all saying he's a hero. Do you know what the definition of a hero is? The hero is everybody there are weakling, and he came to save the day. No, that's not what happened on the train. Okay, he's a hero. He served in the Marine. Thank you, Daniel Penny, for serving in the Marine. Thank you for being a veteran. But on the train, you weren't a hero, bro, because a hero comes when he sees everybody else is weak, everybody else is in danger, and he swoops to save the day. You didn't swoop to save no day. There were 2 other guys restraining Jordan Neely, so you ain't no hero, Daniel. Now, do I think he should go to prison? Nope. I don't think he should go to prison because Jordan Neely too threatened people on the train. So yeah, okay. But I do believe that, does the threat equivalent is the threat equivalent to him losing his life? Absolutely not, because you cannot bring him back. He has a family. He probably has kids. Who knows? Nobody knows. You know what I mean? So I don't care about people who say you can't stand people like this. It is what it is. You have your opinion, okay? You could say what you want to say. However, Daniel ain't no goddamn hero. Okay, he's not a hero when it comes to the train situation. Him being a Marine in the military, yes. Thank you for your service. I'll say that 10,000 times. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, Daniel Penny. Okay. However, on the train, you didn't save anybody. Okay, who did you save? Okay, because there were 2 other guys restraining Jordan Neely, and then you say you were a hero. People are saying he's a hero. He saved the day. There were no weakling on the train. Okay, there were 2 other guys restraining Jordan Neely. Like, so you're telling me it's three guys? It takes 3 guys to disarm 1 guy. You are a Marine, you're a trained veteran. You should know the ways to de escalate a situation without causing all of this chaos. Okay?
The justification issue, then the entire case should have been dismissed. That judge never asked. And that's an appealable, erroneous issue on the judge's part.
Andrew, do you agree with that? That's an excellent point, because then everyone would know, whoa, this is what they actually, this is that they couldn't decide. So how do you go to the lesser charge in that case?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been a flawed process from the very, very beginning. And Lori, you remember this case? Remember the Kitty Genovese case back in 1964, where someone was raped and murdered on the street of New York. 34 people walked past, and there's an international uproar that nobody did anything. Well, guess what? If he's found guilty in this case, we're going to have more instances like that, because nobody is going to come to the assistance of somebody who's being harassed and hurt.
Exactly.
If this Jordan Neely guy is in the hospital hurt and probably gonna recover in 3 weeks, 2 months, it's fine. Okay, if you had punched him in the face and probably his mouth was bleeding or something, and okay, great. But this guy is gone. He's gone. Like, he's never coming back. Okay, he was a homeless person according to the news. He was on drugs according to the news. Homeless equals hungry and angry. Okay, so am I saying that what he did on the train was, justified? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. But taking somebody's life, nah, that way too much, bro. That's way too much. Okay, that's way too much. He wasn't in your space. He didn't come to your home. He was on the public space. That is the subway. If you've ever been to the subway in New York, you know it's a public space. Okay, it ain't your father's house. It ain't your mother's store. It ain't your mom's basement. It's a public space. Anybody runs their mouth. People are dancing on the subway in your face. People are dancing on the subway in your face and say, "What you gonna do, bro?" You just sit there and let people run their mouth. Bro, you shouldn't get offended when people run their mouth, because we are men. Men don't get offended when people run their mouth. But when you touch me, that's another conversation. But according to Daniel Penny, he said the guy was threatening people on the train. Threatening people on the train and actually touching someone on the train are two different things.
Fox News alert: the FBI stepping in to help with a nationwide manhunt for the suspected killer who gunned down the CEO of United Healthcare. Police now examining new evidence, including what they believe is the killer's backpack, as seen in this photo obtained by the New York Post. This all while hinting at what the killer's motive might be.
I'm not going to commit to a motive right now, but obviously, when you look at the writing, you look at the victim's employment, it could possibly be a disgruntled employee or a disgruntled client. But we're not ruling that out, but we're certainly not committing to it at this time.
Former NYPD lieutenant and U.S. Army veteran Dr. Darren Porcher joins us now. Darren, great to see you this morning. So you're seeing this evidence sort of trickle out for the public, the backpack, the suspected exit route to the bus station, perhaps to Atlanta. Do you think authorities right now know much more, perhaps are zeroing in on a guy that we're still wondering about? Do you think they're much closer to catching this guy than perhaps we might know?
Well, good morning, Will, and good morning to the viewers. And I believe that police have far more information that they're revealing to the public. I think that when we look at this backpack, for example, based on the puffiness, it's clear that it's populated with items. And what's going to happen is the NYPD is going to transport that backpack to their crime scene lab in Jamaica, Queens, to conduct a forensic investigation on the items that are contained in that bag, because those items can be germane.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. Shout out to First Time Gainer. Shout out to you, bro. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the donation. God bless you. So First Time Gainer says he was threatening people's life according to other passengers. At that point, he forfeited his right to life and he died after Penny let him go. That's another perspective. However, it's like words. Okay. I cannot get offended by words. Words do not pay my bills. Words don't feed my kids. Words don't do nothing. Okay. Only actions. All right. An adult, a responsible adult, knows for a fact that words are just words. Okay. A lot of people can talk BS, but doing stuff is different from running your mouth. Okay. You can threaten, you can talk, you can say, I'm going to go to the moon next week. And you ain't even going to leave your front door. Okay. So for me, words don't matter. Words absolutely don't matter. But when you do touch somebody, when you do step up to someone and then, start something that you shouldn't start, then okay, great. But if you're just saying he threatened people on the train with words, so what? We don't have free speech anymore? I thought it was free speech. Hell, come on, conservatives. Come on, Republicans. Come on. Y'all said free speech, okay? Free speech. If he's saying all his BS on the train, let him talk his BS. But when he touches someone, then it's up from there. He can get all the smoke. But when you guys say he just threatened someone with what? Words? Nah, we ain't gonna go for that.
In establishing an ID for who the individual in question would be. I think that we have more than enough at this point in time, because the killer has blinked on several occasions. And so I just think it's a matter of days or even hours before we have a capture of this violent individual that killed the CEO of United Healthcare on the streets of New York.
Before we move on, you said you think there are several instances of the killer, quote unquote, blinking. By blinking, I assume you mean making some mistakes in this entire process that would help law enforcement. Besides the backpack, what do you point to as other examples of the killer blinking?
When we look at the killer at the hostel, he revealed his face when he pulled his mask down. And how that's important is you're able to triangulate the eyes, the nose, and the mouth for facial recognition. And that's going to be significant in trying to establish who this individual is and also presenting this information to the public, because now we have a chance of a friend or someone else that would have saw this video, or I should say still photo, and say, wow, I know that it's this person. Therefore, they'll call police to assist in trying to apprehend this individual.
All right, I want to move to another legal case here in New York City. This one already in the jury deliberation process. We've already found the case, at least Alvin Bragg and his prosecutor's office believe they found the case to pursue. And that's Daniel Penny, which on Friday, the second-degree manslaughter charges were dismissed, but the jury was sent back to deliberate over criminally negligent homicide. Setting aside the process of the judge, pushing the jury to find a verdict on one of these charges, do you think they have there what it takes to come back with a guilty verdict on the standard of criminally negligent homicide?
Well, first off, Will, I think that this is a miscarriage of justice in that once the prosecution determined that there was the jury was hung on a charge of manslaughter, then they elected to go with the lower charge. This should have been.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. Shout out to First Time Gainer one more time. Thank you for the donation. You are awesome. Thank you, bro. Okay, look, do I think Daniel Penny should go to jail? Absolutely not. But do I think there should just let it slide? No, don't let it slide. Let him pay a fine. Pay a fine. Come on, man. You guys are not going to tell me paying a fine is bad. Daniel Penny, in my opinion, everybody has one. He should pay a fine. Pay a fine, okay? For, not de-escalating in a way that would not take somebody else's life, okay? We get it. This guy threatened people. You felt threatened and you try to protect yourself and the people on the train. Absolutely great. Thank you for, being a good citizen. However, you know what? Pay a fine. Pay a fine. Do I think Penny should go to jail? No. Okay, no, because he didn't just do it out of the blues. No, he did it because he said, according to Penny said he felt threatened and he felt like, I had to protect myself. I have to protect myself. And of course, protect yourself by all means. All right. However, bro, you're going to have to pay a fine. Okay. Pay a fine. So next time when you're trying to protect yourself, you would be thinking in your mind, I have to de-escalate in a way that this guy can face the justice of the law. Okay, so for this guy that I'm trying to disarm, he has to face the law. I'm not the law. I should not take the law to my hands. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think he should pay a fine. Yeah, y'all can say what you want to say. He shouldn't pay a fine. He was protecting people. But listen, you cannot create another person in this world. That person that you're saying that, he's just nothing, he's trash, he caused it to himself, has a family. Okay. Now, his family would not celebrate Christmas with him this Christmas and New Year's. Okay. So, come on, man. Let's have some sympathy. Okay. Let's have some sympathy, okay? Let's have some sympathy for human life. It's just sympathy for human life because we are human beings. We don't have the right to take people's lives, okay? Just because we feel threatened. This person is not in your home. If they're in your home, it's a different case. But you guys are in a public space and then, that happens. You need to pay a fine, okay? That's it. That's it. And somebody says, who determines the fine? When the escalation doesn't work. Vlad, there's no way the escalation wouldn't work. There's no way because there were two other guys restraining these guys. But I don't want to linger on this anyway. Daniel Penny, he did what he had to do. However, somebody else lost their lives. Okay, so I cannot in good conscience support that. Okay. I cannot because I've been on the subway 10,000 times and people have been in my face screaming and dancing and doing all sort of tricks and trying to get me to get a reaction from me. But I'm just cool as ice. Because as long as you don't touch me, we're Gucci, bro. But when you touch me, then we finna go there. Yeah, you want smoke. So you're touching me now. Okay, you can be in my face and go do, bro. Do your thing. Do your thing, man. Do your thing. You're trying to do what you got to do. But if you then touch, then you need to get all the smoke that you deserve.
Thrown out at this stage. Once you see that you lost throughout the trial proceedings, I think it's clear that you should have just stepped away from it. But this is not what Alvin Bragg intended to do. I think his intention was to prosecute Daniel Penny by any means necessary. And Daniel Penny is an American hero because he stepped up to assist people that didn't have the ability to protect themselves on that subway car. So when we look to the process that's happening, it's now become something more as how can we catch and convict Daniel Penny as best as possible, as opposed to letting the legal.
I think we lost a connection there a little bit with.
Somebody says you're weak, son. You are strong. Go to Ukraine. Go fight in Ukraine, bro. Stop being on the chat saying you're weak, son. You're home on your phone. You're weak, son. Go to Ukraine and show me how strong you are. That's when I know you're strong. Go to Israel, okay? Go to Iran and show me how strong you are. Talking on the phone, talking about you're weak, son. Man, people are just on another level. Anyway, with that being said, what's the next deal? And shout out to the veterans, man. Shout out to the veterans. Thank you for your service. And this is why I'm saying Daniel Penny shouldn't go to jail, because he is a Marine veteran. He's a Marine veteran. So, in good conscience, I cannot say Daniel Penny should go to jail too, but he has to pay a fine. If he was a normal citizen, he needs to go to jail. But as a veteran, no, pay a fine.
The Pentagon shedding some light on potential UFO sightings in a classified briefing to Congress after last month's House and Senate hearings.
And authorities are still investigating mysterious drone activity observed several times in northern New Jersey recently, including near President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Club.
More than several times. I've seen two outside my window. Tennessee Congressman and House Oversight Committee member Tim Burchett joins us now. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. This is a little bit personal to me. My entire neighborhood, everybody in the surrounding cities, seems like it's all anybody's talking about because there are so many sightings. We're going to show you the one outside of my house that my kids captured just on Thursday night. But what are your thoughts on this? What's happening, and why don't we have more information? That's over my house. Yeah.
It's one of three things. It's either individuals, it's either the Chinese, or it's our military, or a combination thereof. Honestly, you don't see a lot of that in Tennessee, where I'm from, because everybody's got a 12-gauge shotgun, ma'am. And I suspect we need to open the season up on drones. But it's I've been briefed on military maneuvers where we know that that the Chinese are doing that, and so it's a real problem. I think we need to, and honestly, they don't respect this country right now because of who's in the White House. I mean, you saw the Chinese balloon; it was able to fly over our secret installations, and even in Tennessee, over Oak Ridge, it turned around and went back. We could have dropped it up in the Pacific a long time before it went all the way across the ocean. They dropped it off the coast of Myrtle Beach. So they are actually testing us, I feel like, and we're failing that test. And until Donald Trump gets in the White House, you'll continue to see this. But I would say it will sharply drop when he.
That doesn't make me feel safe that I have to wait till Donald Trump is in office to find out what's flying over, like literally outside my window. We're not even talking like way over my house.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you've got local laws and regulations, and I would suggest you petition your local folks. But FAA is supposed to control the airspace, and they're failing at their job.
Here's what just so you know, everybody in my neighborhood is calling the police station and the sheriff, and then the sheriff says call the FBI, and nobody gets any answers. Here's what the FAA said. They said safely integrating drones into the national airspace system is a key priority for the FAA. We look into all reports of unauthorized drone operations and investigate when appropriate. What? Like, that doesn't tell me anything.
That's gutless, ma'am, and that is the attitude of the federal government. And I suspect our friends at DOJ will make that report, and I hope Congress has the guts to do something about it. But that in lies the problem right there, because what you'll do is, as I stated on my X account, it had over 3 million views. What I said the problem is the congressmen that are in that room. They got to get the guts to do something about it. And if they make the propeller in one guy's district and the battery in the other parts of the district, they're going to say, well, we need to study this for a while. And we don't need to study it, ma'am. It needs to go away.
Well, so speaking of DOJ, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are talking about trying to find some $2 trillion in savings from the federal deficit. And this is great, and everybody can get behind that. But there's sort of part of me that says, okay, $2 trillion, we've got a $34 trillion deficit. We're going to have to do a whole lot more than just $2 trillion.
Yeah, it's like 35. We had $1 trillion every 100 days. Again, this is where Congress has to get some guts, and the people and your viewers have to hold us accountable. I look up on that board every day at votes, and there's probably 15 or 20 of us that put a red dot, which means we vote against it. Last week we voted for one bill that had over $300 million in it, unfunded. We're borrowing this from our great-grandchildren again.
Yep.
You've got your Congress people up there, and they're going to grease their buddies that are lobbyists, and their wife and or their girlfriend works for some quasi-governmental agency, and they don't want to see it cut. And that's what happens. You all have got to start holding us accountable. That's why if we could get single-issue spending bills like we do in Tennessee, they drop a 3,000-page bill on our desk, and we got 2 hours to read it. You read down and find out what lobbyists you need to grease, what group you've promised to, what bridge you've got in your district, and then you vote for it. That's why we're $35 trillion in debt. Do individual spending bills. And the old timers tell me, well, Burchett will be here all night. Well, dadgummit, y'all pay us over $170,000, at least in Tennessee. That's a heck of a lot of money, and we need to start earning it.
And Congressman, do you think there should be like a bag limit in Tennessee on drone season, or do you can picture like an open season like Wild Hog?
No, I passed that bill on the wild hogs in Tennessee. I understand drones taste a whole lot like chicken, so I'm kind of...
So open season, year-round, unlimited bags for drones.
Do you know what Charlie was telling me during the break, Congressman, that the one place you can't fly drones over is Washington, D.C.
It's true.
Interesting. You can fly over my house, but not over the White House.
Well, we have the capability of knocking those things down, ma'am. Don't let them tell you we don't. It's... I have it on pretty good information. But the UFO issue is a totally other issue, of course.
All right, Congressman Tim Burchett, thanks for being on with us.
Do you guys believe in UFO and all that stuff? But this drones issue is like it's been going on for a long time, and it's like, what is going on, guys? Well, let's see what happens when the 47th gets into office. Let's see the new policies concerning any drones just flying around without caution and all that stuff, or in restricted space. But with that being said, you heard him say open season. I don't know what the man... Open season, guys.
I want to go to John Yoo, the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. John, I want to explore the pre-pardon thing, because it is unusual, maybe to Lucas's point, unprecedented. But let's say they go ahead and do something like that. What kind of weight do they carry? Or, can you even do it, period?
I'd hate to do this, but just to correct Lucas just a little bit, there have been pardons like this before, but on a massive scale. For example, as a student of history, the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson basically pardoned everyone who participated in the Confederacy, even though they'd all committed treason. President Washington, actually, when he first used the pardon power, pardoned somebody for engaging in what was called the Whiskey Rebellion, which in this season sounds like an Irish bar or something. But the Whiskey Rebellion, in fact, was one of the first rebellions against the government of the United States. Washington pardoned the ringleaders before there were any charges or anything. But notice the difference. those pardons were done for the national interest, to heal the country. Here, Biden is doing these pardons to save a family member, Hunter, and then maybe to save members of his administration. That's a sad end to a failed presidency, right? At the end of your presidency, you're pardoning people in your administration because you're afraid of what's coming next.
Well, I can see your distinction there that you've made. I don't want to argue with you, John, but I am wondering, there's a difference between someone who participated or is charged with participating in a rebellion, a whiskey rebellion you mentioned and everything. There's another one with crimes that have not been outlined yet or charges that have formally come up yet. And I'm wondering, is that a slippery slope? Or would it be considered a retribution campaign? Be careful what you wish for. What do you think?
Neil, we're never going to disagree, but like Korean Jean-Pierre, we're just going to wrestle with it a little bit. We're going to wrestle.
So
I don't like wrestling with Italians. They always win.
If that were true, back to the Hunter Biden thing, and John, you can help me with this. The timing of this is odd. The one thing that struck me is how sweeping this pardon was. I think it goes back 10 years. So is that unusual? And does that lay the groundwork for sins that might have been committed prior to the sins that we know about?
Neil, you're asking a great question. Sorry for making light of it, but actually you've put your finger on what makes these pardons unprecedented. I think they're still within the president's pardon power.
Pertaining to the pardon, I have nothing to say because a father probably should pardon their son, just being a father. Okay, I got a 5-year-old daughter. I don't see a world where I wouldn't pardon my daughter. However, if I was asked, are you going to pardon your daughter? I would say, you know what? Let me think about it. I'm going to get back to you on that. Let me check the evidence. Let me see what's going on. Let me talk to my daughter. Let me see what happened. Let's see. I'm going to leave it open. I'm not going to make a conversation about it right now. I'm not going to make a speech about it right now, but we're going to see what happens in future. But no, not Joe Biden. Joe Biden said, nope. I believe in the Department of Justice. I believe in the jury of his peers, and I know they're going to make the right decision. I'm not going to pardon him. He said it like a lot of time, a lot, as well as Karine Jean-Pierre. She said the same thing. She said it a lot of times. The president has said he's never going to pardon his son, and then you turn around and you pardon your son. Can you see the discrepancy right there? It's like you're lying. Okay, so now people are going to say you're a liar. But they've been calling you a liar a long time ago.
Has almost no limits to it. Just impeachment and state crimes can't be pardoned. Otherwise, the Supreme Court has said the power is plenary. They don't generally get into a review of the pardon. But this is different because you're saying, as you say, it's not a pardon for specific acts that are mentioned, for specific prosecutions. Often people have already served their sentences. Instead, it's just a time period. And President Biden saying anything that happened in that time period. The only one I can think of that's like that is the Nixon pardon by Gerald Ford, who basically pardoned Nixon for Watergate. Right. And we didn't know what was coming next. It was just, but that shows how unprecedented it is to use that, not for what Ford did. It might have lost in the election, to heal the country after Watergate. Instead, Biden is actually, he's like someone who set someone's house on fire because he tore down these norms in the service of lawfare. And then he's saying, oh my God, the fire's going to come hit my house now. He is worried that the same things that he unleashed for the first time in lawfare are now going to be used by Donald Trump against him. So actually his use of this pardon in an unprecedented way is response to his own crossing of the Rubicon and allowing the use of prosecution to have political effects.
Well said. Despite your slap at Italians there, who am I to argue with when you have all these books behind you? You're just such a brilliant guy.
I've even read a few of them.
I believe it. I believe it, and wrote a few of them. John, so good seeing you. Thanks.
This guy has a great sense of humor for sure. It's like you have all the books behind you. You're such a brilliant guy. Lol. That was the OG, the legendary 45th, and now the 47th in France. This is the real OG right here. The legendary, the Don. Yeah. Yeah, everybody relax because it's going down. Look at that respect. Respect. Look at that. Look at that. Look. Oh, oh. Look at that. Yeah, that's OG status right there. OG status. OG status, bro. OG status. The Teflon done at this point. Look at that. Look at that. You better wait for him to climb the stairs first, because you ain't finna climb those stairs before Trump. Look at that. Look at that. He said, wait. Look at that. Yeah, he's such a OG. He's such a OG. Trump is such a OG, man. He's been through every single thing, and they cannot do anything against him. They've tried to sabotage him. They've tried to do every single thing, and he's still standing. Strong. Okay. Strong. So, I mean, what else? What else is there to do to this guy? Now, I'm sure, what's his name? Biden would want to pardon him, trying to make it a balanced state because he pardoned his son. He wants to pardon Trump. You can never make this up, guys. I promise you that. You can never make this up. They said picture up. Somebody said picture up. Y'all are too funny, man. Picture up. You see a legend right there. Please call it a picture up. Why? All right, everybody, double tap your screen. Let's get the likes up real quick. Let's get the likes up real quick. We're trumping me cause shakeups in the AI industry. Yep. What do you guys think about the AI industry right now with Sam Altman, with the open AI situation going on, also with Meta starting to build a $10 billion plant in Louisiana? That's a big deal. Elon is definitely going wild.
Major companies are betting big on artificial intelligence as powerhouse stocks like NVIDIA soar in 2024. But the incoming administration could cause some shakeups in the government's approach to the tech industry. Trump picking longtime venture capitalist and former PayPal chief operating officer David Sacks to be his White House AI and crypto czar. Here to react is Constellation Research founder and principal analyst Ray Wang. Ray, incoming crypto czar David Sacks, and there's a crypto-friendly SEC pick, Paul Atkins. Bitcoin just hit $100,000. Here's my question. Are we sure that crypto-friendly is bullish for crypto prices? And what I mean is Bitcoin has been running up for years with uncertainty and kind of open-ended predictions. If we're going to get more clarity and guidelines, are investors going to stay as excited as they have been about crypto?
Jack, they definitely are. Crypto and AI are the top two priorities in the Trump administration, partly because we want to be number one in the world in those two technologies. A lot of cash, I'm saying billions, have gone into the UAE and the Middle East because the rules are clear there and a ton of talent has moved over there. So if we have clear regulation, that means people are going to move their talent back to the U.S. And more importantly, crypto is going to play a big part of what we're going to do next. The second piece is there's a crypto act that's being proposed that says a certain percentage of the U.S. Reserve will be held in Bitcoin. And that's what's driving the price up, not anything else. And then we've seen quietly in the background, there are institutional investors that have actually made large purchases in Bitcoin and have put those into their holdings already in anticipation of that. So this run-up is going to continue past $100,000, maybe even to $200,000 per coin.
All right, let's turn to AI. Massive sums being spent on chips and data centers. Sometimes I hear ordinary consumers, they'll look at the latest AI features on the iPhone and they say, well, no big whoop, really. So is all this AI money being wisely spent? What do you think are the next types of companies to benefit from this?
Jack, you're absolutely right. The money's being spent into the chips at the moment, and in the future it's going to be spent into the data centers, and of course that moves out of the hardware into the networking. But the real money that's being spent inside companies and software companies, and then of course user companies like a Walmart or like an Uber, that's where we're going to see the results. If you look at Walmart, for example, they were able to use dynamic pricing, the ability to actually change the way they do logistics, to actually use AI and put that into use. If you look at Uber, they could do ride batching, which means a driver could actually add more rides, get more fares per ride, and that actually drives up profitability. So the companies that are starting to use AI are going to be the next wave that you're going to want to bet in, like a Walmart or like a Costco or like an Uber that's actually putting it into use. The other piece is, as we start looking at the software companies that are going to benefit from all this investment, just like we did in the internet, we had the infrastructure, we finally put in like the computing, then we find the hardware vendors are all building it out. It was the software companies that made the most, the SaaS companies that took advantage of the revolution. There are going to be AI companies that are going to take advantage of that, and it might not be the same cloud companies we know today.
How do you think the AI race between the U.S. and China will develop? The U.S. has NVIDIA, the top chip designer. China claims Taiwan as its own, and Taiwan has Taiwan Semi. That's the best chip manufacturer. So who really holds the power here, and where does it go?
Well, it's going to come on two fronts. One is the chip technology, and TSMC is probably the top in the world because they can get it down to like the smallest chips, the more dense chips that need to go out the door. China would love to claim Taiwan, and me being Taiwanese, I'm going to tell you that might not happen. But the real story isn't that. The real story is there might be another set of chip technologies, as every single one of the Mag 7 is paying NVIDIA the money to actually be able to get into AI. Every one of them is also trying to develop their own chips. And so the companies that can actually make it, like we're here at the Amazon reInvent conference, they've been building their own chips in Infineon and of course Infineon to be able to get these new chips out the door.
We got about 30 seconds. I just want to ask you about banks. You recently wrote that they're poised to profit from a big tech M&A rebound. Tell me about that.
Well, they are lining up because of Lina Khan. Antitrust was held up. The whole point of antitrust is to protect the consumer. Well, we ended up with no M&As, no IPOs, which means innovations never got to the market. The banks are gearing up like crazy because now the M&A pipelines can be hot, and IPOs like Stripe, ByteDance, and others are actually going to be, Databricks are going to be out the door.
Thank you, Ray Wang.
Well, you've heard him concerning the AI situation, but Sam Altman wants to move from for-profit to, well, actually from non-profit to for-profit. And Elon doesn't want that because he was one of the first investors in OpenAI. But that's what happens when you get bigger.
Bienvenue à vous. Voilà, heureux d'accueillir à nouveau le président élu Donald Trump à Paris pour la réouverture de Notre-Dame 5 ans après. Il était président à l'époque quand le feu a pris la cathédrale.
Président.
President, I just,
The Président.
It's a great honor for French people to welcome you 5 years later. And you were at that time president for the first time. And I remember the solidarity and your immediate reaction. So, welcome back again.
Well, thank you very much.
We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Very great honor. And we had a great relationship, as everyone knows. We accomplished a lot together. And the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people. And we respect them and we love them. Very talented people. Extremely energetic people, as you know very well.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy.
Yeah, I remember the Emmanuel conversation with Trump. Trump said, I said, Emmanuel, don't do it. We will tarry for the wine coming from France. Emmanuel, don't do it. Now it's best friends with Emmanuel. Trump is such a negotiator, bro.
Now, and we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Now, what is Zelensky
Thank you
doing
so
here?
much.
Zelensky? I thought he was having issues. Is Nama having issues right now?
Thank you so much.
I thought Zelensky was having issues in his country. Wow. I guess they put it on pause.
Thank you
And he had the time to go to France. Okay. I see.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much.
Ну, передусім, я хочу подякувати президенту Еммануелю Макрону за те, що він організував нашу зустріч, важлива зустріч Еммануеля, моя і президента Трампа. Дуже хороша зустріч. Важливо, що вона конструктивна і атмосфера важлива, що ми розмовляємо, ми говоримо про Україну, говорили а вже ж тільки про Україну і про українців, і про те, як підтримати, і які сильні українці, які вистояли всю цю навалу російської агресії. І те, що ми всі хочемо, щоб був мир.
Where's the translation, guys? Godly. What is going on here?
Fox News alert: the FBI stepping in to help with a nationwide manhunt for the suspected killer who.
We've seen this. Okay. With that being said, this concludes our stream right here. Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. God bless you. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. Believe in God. And we will be back around, say, 7 or 8 p.m. And we're going to do more digging. Okay? God bless you. Saturday vibes. The weekend vibes. Stay strong. Never give up on yourself, okay? Life is hard. I get it. But keep going. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. You have to be a rebel, man. You just have to have some grit. Okay? Have some guts, have some grits. Keep at your dreams. Don't let go. It's going to be hard. However, keep on going. Okay? It is your boy Genesis. You know what time it is. Double tap your screen. All right. NM, bye. All right. Shout out to Wayne. Shout out to my boy Wayne, man. God bless you, Wayne. I sort of kind of gave you the wrong emoji the first time you came in. Sorry, bro. So shout out to you, bro. Thank you for tuning in one more time. Shout out to Keith, Paul Davies. Yeah, Paul. Paul has been consistent. Fancy Hokage for sure. Fancy. God bless you, Fancy. What else? Did I say Keith? NM has been blocked for sure. Biker Bay. Biker Bay. All right, shout out to Biker Bay. Emerald Venice. Emerald Venice. What else? James. Did I say James? Who else? Okay, man. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. It is that time of the afternoon or the evening. Saturday vibes, guys. It's the weekend vibes. And I will be back for sure. What is Keith talking about? Photographic memory. Let me see. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in one more time. Before you leave, double tap your screen. Double tap your screen. And sub up to the channel. Double tap your screen, sub up to the channel. Double tap your screen, sub up to the channel. Let's get the likes up to 100 likes. Okay, let's get the likes up. Okay, it's so easy. All you gotta do is double tap your screen real quick, and then we are gonna tune this out. Let me see. Okay, so here you go. Twice. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, twice, and then we're good to go. Big Sound says that they described him as a light-skinned male. Who is that? Oh, this guy. Wait, should we keep going? Cause y'all wilding right now. Should we keep going? I mean, we already seen this, haven't we? He's definitely not a light-skinned. He did do. I mean, I don't want to say anything about this situation right here because they're still investigating this guy. So I let the NYPD Crime Stoppers do what they do, and yeah. Fancy says some said it was a woman. Some said it was a woman. That's true. Fancy, should we keep going or you want us to? Because people are still tuning in. Okay, should we keep going or should we just call it a day and come back? Should we keep going or should we just call it a day? Let me see if I could get you guys a good one. Fancy said it's up to you, brother. Okay. It is up to me. Yeah, but no show without you guys. So yeah.
Gunned down.
Yeah, no show without you guys. So you guys sort of kind of like keep the show going. If you stay, we're gonna keep going. If you guys say, you know what, we're gonna come back here, then we're gonna come back. But Wayne says keep going. Shout out to Wayne, bro. Let me see. Let me see if we can listen to it. Hearing. You know what? Wayne, what you doing? My kids are learning from Lewis, man. That's a mask. All right, let's see this because
The CEO of United Healthcare. And now other companies are looking to step up protection for their leaders. But our next guest warns effective security goes beyond bodyguards. Former leader of threat management team at United Health Group, Jameson Ritter, joins us now. Thanks for being with us. So let's start with this. A threat management team at a place like United Health, which we just saw this being the target of. What would you do? Like, how would you assess these types of threats, and what are your warnings here for other companies?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, a threat management team is truly multidisciplinary. What we try to do is take all information regarding threats to employees, to staff, to others, assess those for escalation to violence, and then ultimately try to intervene in some way that that prevents somebody from escalating to violence. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of prevention, a lot of hard work, and a lot of collaboration with other elements within and outside the company.
I want to ask you about one of the specific things that you have told us about myths or mistakes made when you're talking about protecting CEOs. The myth that employees snap. That is something that we all have come to believe, I think, anecdotally, that all of a sudden an employee loses it and boom. But instead, it's, as you describe it, more like a cat and mouse game. Would you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So targeted violence, things like terrorism, active shooters, school shooters, workplace violence, domestic violence, all those things, it really is about a understandable escalation, a pathway to violence. What we're looking at here is predatory violence or targeted violence, which is a deliberate decision to go from grievance to action through several understandable stages. And our job as security professionals are try to move that timeline further and further away from an action of violence. So we can observe things like planning, surveillance, communications, what we might call leakage, where people are on social media or talking to friends and family about their intent or their grievance. So we're really trying to pick a needle out of a haystack in a lot of ways and identify the one of potentially hundreds or thousands of people that might have the ability to go from having a very strong grievance to willing and able to act in violence.
So, Jameson, I know that you may be somewhat read into this investigation, but I don't want to presume you know specifically about this instance just yet. I mean, you did work with United Health Group, but we're having a conversation, you and I, just now, in how you assess threats that come from internally. I believe that's the presumption underlying whether or not someone snaps or stalks you. But is there anything in this particular case right now that leads you down the path of we're having the right conversation, that this is about some threat that emerged internally, or could it still be an external threat here that is this case when it comes to United Health?
You know, it's hard to say at this early stage, but what I'd be willing to say is the threat management process, assessing these types of threats, really can come from any direction. It can be external, can be internal. It can come from all sources. In a case like this, it's possible that this person may have communicated with others outside the company, within the company, through other methods. It's clear, at least from my perspective, that in many ways, this is a very strong case of a grievance move to action. So the things like what we've been hearing about, the items written on the ammunition, the ability to do surveillance, to be there early. All of these things are very deliberate, target predatory violence, predatory acts leading up to violence.
Even I would suggest, I would presume, identifying Mr. Thompson suggests there's.
Now it's a nationwide search because, I mean, it's been what, 3 days and they still haven't found this guy. Wow, that's just wild. Now, what's going on at the border? What's going on at the border? Shout out to Tom Homan, the border czar. What is going on at the
Trump
border?
is assembling his border team ahead of his inauguration. He named Caleb Vitello as acting ICE director, Rodney Scott as CBP commissioner, and Tony Salisbury as his deputy Homeland Security advisor. Here to discuss is retired Border Patrol chief in Yuma, Arizona, Chris Clem. Great to see you this morning, Chris. Thanks for joining us. So obviously the Trump team has their hands full at the border. What is going to be their top priority right at the beginning?
Well, the top priority is going to be securing the border, finishing what we started under the first Trump administration. And I think just showing that list of names and the people you mentioned, sitting from where I sit as a retired Border Patrol chief, that is a border security dream team, right? Governor Noem leading DHS. We know what Tom Homan as the border czar is going to do. I have worked with Rodney Scott for years. I've worked with Tom Homan for years. Stephen Miller for policy, even Brandon Judd going to extend his knowledge beyond our physical borders when he's in South America. I mean, this is really, a dream team. And bring in the ICE background with Caleb and Tony. I think it's going to be an amazing place for America, an amazing place for Border Patrol and border security and immigration enforcement.
So we'll have sort of a wall plus a strategy for securing the border. What about when it comes to deporting people that have come over the border? What's the priority going to be there for deporting people?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that is very important to the American people. The polls have shown it. They're supporting the deportation. It is going to be strategic. It is going to be focused on national security and public safety threats. We're not going to fearmonger and allow people to play into this. This is about getting the threats that impact Americans, those that have nexus to terrorism, those that are gang members, that are criminal syndicates, those that pose a harm and threat to public safety, which is a priority of this administration, a priority for all law enforcement. I think that's something that everybody should be able to get behind because we've got a problem in this country, and I know this new team and this administration is going to fix it.
Can you guys imagine this was Eagle Pass, Texas, November 26th? So this was what, like 2 weeks ago? And this is what is happening right now? 2 weeks ago. This is wild. Okay, this is absolutely wild. We need the 45th and the 47th president-elect for sure.
You know, one of the problems with having a wide open border is you really have no idea how many people are coming across the border. What is your best estimate for how many people, illegals, have come across the border? And what sort of percentage of them do you think are some of these people who not only came across the border, but also have some sort of criminal background?
Well, you know, that has always been the $64,000 question, right? Because we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
The Godaway numbers are an art and science that Border Patrol agents have to report every day. So the numbers exceed 2 million over the last few years. We know there's probably more than that. And then we look at the amount of criminals and those with terrorist ties that we've apprehended. And while I'm no math major, statistically speaking, they're going to be part of that component that's in those gotaways. Because really, under the Biden-Harris administration, why would you evade arrest, knowing that you're going to be caught and released and been taken care of by NGOs and in blue states and blue sanctuary cities across the country? Why avoid Border Patrol unless you have a reason? Because you're a criminal, because you're a smuggler, because you're a drug runner, because you are somebody that poses a threat to the United States. So they're going to be targeted under this new administration, and that's going to start day one.
Yeah, and I guess the truth is that one of the problems of handing your border over to the drug cartels is that you've got to wrestle it back from them, and they're probably not going to give it up real easily. They're probably going to want to try to hold on to that control, which leads to other problems. But thank you very much, Chris Clem, for joining us.
The president of Mexico is now playing ball. She said she wasn't going to do anything earlier, but now she's like, you know what? We're going to try to do our own part of the business, which is making sure that the caravans stop from Mexico. And that's what the 47th president-elect has been talking about. You can use tariff to negotiate a lot of stuff, okay? You can use tariff to negotiate the border, protection of the border. You can use the tariff to negotiate deals when it comes to trade. Most people just think tariff is about putting tariffs on other people's product. So when it does ship here, the tariff becomes high prices for the people of the United States. However, it's different. It's different because he hasn't enacted any of these tariffs. He's just negotiating. As of today, those tariffs he's threatening, those are just negotiation tools. Okay. These tariffs he's talking about, those are just negotiation tokens as of today. Okay, so everybody needs to chill. What we got?
Gas prices. The price of a gallon of regular gas is now under $3 in 33 states. And look who's back on this program. Patrick DeHaan from GasBuddy. All right, Patrick, will this downward trend continue, downward trend of gas prices, as Trump takes the Oval Office?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, Stuart. Now, typically, I have to put some caution here that gas prices have bottomed out in late December the last 2 years. This year could be a little bit different. Oil price is still under a bit of pressure, even though OPEC did extend their production cut into 2025. But for now, as you mentioned, two other states also just joined the sub $3 club, Maryland and Florida now, making it 35 states. That's over 105,000 gas stations, Stuart, that are below the $3 a gallon mark. The national average we show at about 301. It's probably going to dip below that $3 a gallon mark here over the weekend, and it may stay there, I think, through late December. And gasoline demand is still pretty soft, so I think the prospect's very bright for lower gas prices as we go into January.
We just showed the average price of regular gas in Oklahoma. I think it was $2.40 or $2.50. How come Oklahoma has such low? Yeah, $2.52. How come Oklahoma has such low prices?
Yeah, Stuart, all of that, like a lot of the state differences, except the region differences, comes down to gasoline taxes. Oklahoma simply has lower gasoline taxes and a close proximity to a lot of those major refineries in Texas and Louisiana. That's why Oklahoma, Texas, Mississippi generally have some of the lowest gas prices in the nation. And taxes also the reason why California, along with a lot of regulations and differences between the types of gasoline, California always the king You can count on high gasoline taxes in California.
Is there any chance that in any state, the average price for regular will go below $2 a gallon?
I don't think we're going to get quite below that for the average. But what I do think, Stuart, is that some of the lowest prices, Oklahoma City already stations as low as $2.12 a gallon. I just checked. There were a couple stations in Utah that briefly dipped below $2 a gallon. But you could start to see individual stations in some of those Midwestern states getting below $2. But I don't think anyone's going to get to the average below $2, at least for now.
What is the impact of the winter weather on gas prices?
Well, Stuart, you talk about Thanksgiving travel. Demand last week does not go up for Thanksgiving, for a holiday week. It actually goes down because while a lot of us collectively hit the road Wednesday and then Sunday returning, most people were parked Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So a lot of the benefit at low gas prices is coming because of simply lower seasonal demand. And I'll tell you about, by the way, in Chicago, it's already cold enough, but cold weather keeps us inside more. That lower demand also lowers prices.
Interesting. $3 a gallon gas, obviously good for inflation, I would say. Patrick De Haan, welcome back. Always good to see you, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Stuart.
you, Patrick. Gotcha.
Shout out to everybody tuning in one more time. You guys are the best. Oh, why's my stuff delaying? It never delays. Wait, let me see. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? All right. All right, guys. Fancy says here. Yeah. Okay. Now we got to go for real. Okay. Now I got to go for real. Thank you guys for tuning into the live stream. You guys are the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, and we will be back here by probably 8 p.m. Gotta grab something to eat, and I gotta make sure my daughter is good, and I gotta do what I gotta do. But you guys are the best.